Welcome back, guys, to the second part of Remax episode 2. And the first part we talked about IEM, Flash, Kespa Cup, Pro League, and GSL. The second part will be focused on Redbull, Terran Talk, and WCS Points. So let's get started. We had Redbull Online, Redbull Battleground Online. It was the qualifiers for the DC event. There was a lot of qualifiers, and there was a grand final qualifier to see who would make it. Let me pull up the stuff right now. Did you guys, HuK, I think you played in 1 or 2 qualifiers. How did it go for you?
I lost to this like random fucking Terran player. I can't remember his ID. It was fucking, what was it? It was you something.
Was he Korean?
Okay, obviously not getting the joke here. I lost to uThermal in one of them.
Oh!
And then
okay.
I lost to... Who the fuck was it? Some Korean Terran in the other one. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't such a big deal. I kind of had the view like I could only play the first 2 qualifiers because I was going to that Toronto land anyways. And I basically just woke up to play them. And then it was like, well, if I qualify, it'll be fun, and then I'll play the Final Four and get stumped probably anyways. And if I don't, then whatever. And I just kind of viewed it as good practice, but they were really hard qualifiers, so...
How did it feel to take a poop on Virium twice in a row?
Main reason I was happy is because Feedme lost to Virium, and then I avenged him, quote unquote. But
dropping a map twice.
Yeah, Virium, he's not bad, but he does like insanely risky stuff, so it's really scary to play against a player that's like basically ready to do anything. Because then you're just like the whole game you're like, fuck, what's he doing? What's he doing? Especially PvP.
Okay. And what about you, uThermal? You got to play Deer. How was that like?
It wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun?
No, it wasn't fun. Like, I've played him before, and I got stomped in IEM, and now I got stomped again.
Okay.
Like, you just, even with delay, like when you do like gas first against like, Europeans, it works so well, but he just like doesn't even lose a single unit. Like, I built just input.
You ended up beating Seed 2-0. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I think.
So you're getting a raise, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
Seed maybe not one of the best Koreans at the moment. Like the first game was just a macro game, and I beat him quite easily, and then I cheesed him. So it wasn't like the most impressive win, but I don't think Seed is like the Korean either at the moment.
And then losing to Impact, but beating Neige. How good was Neige? He's like one of those like exiled Korean trying to live the dream, right?
No, I don't think he has any hope. Like,
okay.
Yeah. It was just like, even if I would play against a low GM on Europe, it's the same. Like, he wasn't any good for me.
Oh, you took a map of Myungsik.
Yeah.
Man, you're living the dream.
It was a really good game as well. He went 3-star pot, and then they kicked me out of the game.
Wait, what? What's the
I
story?
was observing as well, because they were casting it on mainstream, and I was casting it as well, And then they kicked me out of the second game. So
oh.
Didn't watch those.
Poor Will.
They didn't kick you, just didn't get invited, right?
Yeah, same thing.
So how close were the games versus Myungsik?
The first and second one were close, and the last one I got wrecked.
Okay.
It was the first game I did an SCV pool, but it was like I planned to do the SCV pool because I knew it was a Starcraft Protos, right? And then I did gas first, but I saw his probe came from the proxy, so I was a bit ahead, and then I did my SCV pool and won. And then the second game was it was a bit shitty because I wanted to do a 2-base SCV pool, but then I came to his base and realized it was never gonna work. So then I just went back and tried a bigger SCV pool with too many units. And the last game he just played standard, and I SCV pulled again, but then he did like 2 Colossus into Storm, something like that. So it just didn't work out. So like I could have won 2-0, but I didn't have any chance in the last game.
So yeah, the thing that's really cool about Red Bull is that those
You're not gonna ask me about my results?
Well, come on, Will.
You ask me.
Yeah? How did you do, Will?
So the first 2 games I got destroyed by some Protos players. And no, I played Pig one game, and I got ahead and I choked.
Yeah.
And then I played against the Indian GM on NA. Can't remember his name. I took him out, so I'm proud of that. Okay. Hey man, top diamond beating GM.
Yeah.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah. Oh, you're masters now, man. Right? No? Oh, God. All right.
Go ahead.
Rip.
uThermal, you gotta hook him up with some coaching, man. So, the really cool story here is Red Bull, you know, you get a good chance to play Korean, and that's great experience. The easiest way to learn is to get trashed by a Korean, because, you know, you see every mistake in your play. So these 4 qualifiers, very stacked. First qualifier, Cure made it out. No, actually, the first qualifier, and that's a little bit of a story here. Yoda, possibly a patch Terran, beating out Biol 2-0, Eero 2-1, Curious 2-0, Hurricane 2-1, and then the final 2-0 versus Solar. What do you guys think of Yoda? Because he was in Europe for a while and didn't do anything. HuK, tell me more.
You know my thoughts on this. I like, he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Really cool, and he's been like consistently decent for a while now, but I definitely think that there are other issues at play here than the sudden overnight change into the great player that he's showing to be now.
Yeah.
But that's just my thoughts.
uThermal, have you played a lot of Yoda in online qualifiers?
Only once, and I got wrecked. But my TVT is really nothing special. Like, I can lose to anyone on ladder, so it doesn't really say a lot. I think Yoda is good because he's like a really fast player. I think he's one of the fastest players, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't actually watched the games in this qualifier, so I'm not sure what it looked like. So I can't really have an opinion.
Okay. Will, anything relevant to say?
Oh, Yoda?
Yeah.
I think he's like a really inconsistent player.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he looks really sick, and then the other times he just looks trash.
Mm-hmm.
Especially recently with like moving to Europe and stuff, you can definitely tell all the gem players, they're all
struggling.
Not so good anymore.
Yeah. So the second qualifier, we had Cure beating out Pol 2-0, Gomio 2-1, Biol 2-1, Petrius 2-0, Rip, Eero 2-1, and in the finals beating Rogue 2-1. So you can say Cure really had like a really tough bracket there with Gomio, Biol, and Eero and Rogue. Cure, one of the Terrans, rising up. He was doing well before the patch, so really good player. The third qualifier, we had Polt. Beating Journey 2-0, beating Arston 2-0, beating Ryong 2-1, beating Yun 2-1, and beating Keen 2-1. So I think Polt really had an easy bracket there. Not to take a jab at my buddy Arston or, you know, Ryong and Yun. Definitely not as tough as Kespa players. And then the final player was Eero, qualifying, beating 2-1 Czech, 2-0 Journey, and then in the finals 2-0 Violet. You could see that final qualifier really ran out of players there a little bit. And the player that made
I think what it was is the players wanted to do Kespa Cup qualifiers.
Oh, yes.
So they didn't want to stay up for Red Bull.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because when you think about it, it started at 2 a.m. for the Korean players. So Kespa Cup, obviously, a lot more important. So the final bracket, as you can see here, was Yoda, Eero, and then Pol Cure. And then Cure ended up was going to DC. Eero losing 2-1. Did you guys catch any of the games yesterday?
Cure totally destroyed everybody. Like, really walked over people.
Mm-hmm.
Cure by far the best player.
You think he's the best player, Eero? Oh no,
Cure was by far the best player in this qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
No one really had a chance.
And I really liked the last series, Cure versus Eero. A little bit weird that there's not any advantage to the guy from the winners bracket. What would you guys? What's your opinion about that?
There was an advantage. You have to win 2 best of 3s.
Oh, well, okay.
Obviously, you don't see it.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about that format in general? Like, because HuK had that. HuK lost to Masa. 3-0 was it? Your mic's muted. It's still muted.
Me?
No, HuK. We can't hear you.
Oh, 3-1,
what's up?
sorry.
So you lost 3-1, and then it was in the winner's bracket final, and then he played in the grand final, and it was a best of 5 with one map advantage to Masa, and he ended up winning 3-0 for a result of 3-1. What do you guys prefer when it's a double LM bracket? You prefer the 2 best of 3? Would you prefer best of 7 with one map? Would you prefer best of 5 with one map? What do you guys think is the best format? Like for a spectator and as a competitor, uThermal.
Well, in like Dutch events, it's always best of 5 with one map lead.
Yeah.
And I got used to it, and I think it's a good format as well. I think if you do best of 7 with one map, it's not really that much of a lead. Like, you could do it by like the extended series rule, but then you could have like a 2-0 or 3-1 lead. Like, it should be best of 5, 1-0, I think.
Yeah. Personally, in Quebec, it's always best of 3, 2 best of 3s to win. And sometimes it's pretty brutal. Like, you'll win the first series and then you'll lose the second one. You'll win the first one 2-0, lose the second one 1-2, and then you're 3-2 and maps and you still lose. What about you, Will, spectator-wise, since you're not the greatest competitor?
Well, fuck you. I mean, like, I think with different tournament formats, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I think most of them already have it okay.
Okay. What about you, Chris, since you took advantage of...
I also agree either one's fine. Like, on one side of the coin, you have, like for my example, it'd be, okay, I lost to him 3-1, and he's starting up 1-0, and then I come back 3-1, so that's pretty cool. But if you have 2 series, then it's like, okay, he won 1 series, but now it's reset, and he has to win another. Game-wise, usually it comes out about even too, because if you think about it, Masa would have been 0-0, and then I would have won the first series 2-0, obviously. And then the second one, I would have been up 1-0, and he would have had to win at least 2 games. So it's like almost the same thing in both situations. It doesn't matter. Both are fine.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to play a small video because I think it's really cool what Red Bull did. So I'm going to mute the guys. I'll play the video, and then we'll talk a little bit about Red Bull Battleground Detroit, which starts on Friday. It's in Detroit City. So let's get to it. I'll mute you guys in a second.
Alright, merry-go-round, and I'm playing ZVT. 2 racks is strong here. Remember to check for proxy. Sending that first drone. If I check early enough, I can pull drones to delay. Looks good so far. What's his early game? Careful with that Overlord. Could be hiding bunch Marines. Oh, he opened Reaper. I should be able to get a better look at his base. Alright, reactor's up. Is he going for Hellions? Checking second gas. He's got Marines set up to block Overlords. I've got to get some vision. Nice. Made it. Alright, he's got no third CC and a quick 3 racks. No Banshee coming. I'll secure my third base and prepare for his big attack. Time to get some units ready for his mid-game push. That's right. Wander onto my creep. Decent engagement. Solid trades. I know I'm ahead now. His only option is to drop me. Better spread out my overlords for some extra vision. Shut down. Just one more fight. Okay. Final fight. Let's go.
Okay, I was muted for a little while. So this is one of the coolest video I think that's ever been made. I haven't been paid by Red Bull, but I think if you want to show, if someone by now doesn't know what Starcraft is, you show them this, and they sort of understand a little bit of the aspect of like strategy and chess. And I think we're really lucky to have Red Bull do this for us. What did you think of the video, Chris?
I liked the video. I thought it was a good portrayal of what can go through a player's mind, I guess, except he's vocalizing it when most people just think about it. Other than that, though, there's not much to discuss, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a video.
Mm.
I mean, it's
Good video.
It's a company. Yeah, it's a good video. It's a company making content for StarCraft, so that's good. It's not ESL boring the hell out of me.
I mean, ESL had like a similar concept with like their guy like in front of a computer moving his like fingers.
Yeah, I feel like with the ESL intro and stuff, they just put all their budget into that and then just hope they would satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
That's really what I actually think.
But like when you think about it, like we used to have in 2013, 2012, we had DreamHack do like a CGI like battle cruiser on top of a city trailer video. But this type of trailer for Red Bull Battleground Detroit is pretty cool. Hasn't really been done before. You can show this to your friend and maybe they'll be tempted to come. Also, there's a bus. If you live in Toronto, there's a bus you can take for free, organized by Red Bull to just go to Detroit. So, you know, you save about $80 on a bus. And then you just have to pay for the hotel. So that's really cool by Red Bull to do that. The story of Red Bull Detroit, not a lot of Koreans. Not sure why. It was the same for Red Bull Atlanta. Not all the players were announced, but I got Mr. Bitter to hook me up with the player lists. And the Koreans so far are Jaedong, San, Stardust, Bunny, Bunny and Snoot don't count as Koreans, but Europeans. And then Teja Bomber. And you also have CJ sending Trusts. And then you have the obvious like Yon, Apocalypse, Polt, and Gemja. HuK, what do you think of this player list? Are you scared?
Okay. No.
No?
What a weird question.
No, you're not scared? You're a brave man?
The only person that's like scary that I would be like, fuck, I don't want to play him is Teja, I guess.
Yeah. What about Trust from CJ?
It's PvP. He's not. I mean, like all these players are great, and I think most of the players you named, obviously, I would be at a disadvantage against. And if I had to bet, I would bet that I would lose. But Teja's the only one that's like really scary, because it's one thing to lose to a player and be like, man, if I did this or that right, I had a really good shot. And then it's another thing to play a player and then lose and be like, what the fuck? Like, no idea, just lost. So I think Teja would give me the second feeling, and if I lost to other kids, I would have the first.
Okay. What about you, uThermal? Would you ever be interested in coming over at some point?
Yeah, I would be interested. Like right now, I'm focusing on WCS, but I think it would be really cool to attend the Red Bull tournament.
Do you think it's a factor that WCS EU is like ongoing, and that's why we don't see a lot of Europeans? Because did you watch Atlanta?
Yes.
It was pretty good event, like exposure wise for the players, and the prize was pretty good. You know, 200, 400, 800 to like top 32. But yeah, go on with what you were gonna say.
Well, I'm actually pleasantly surprised by the lineup of Detroit, because like Atlanta was maybe a bit disappointing. Like, it was a big prize pool, a lot of WCS points, but there were only like 4 Koreans, of which 2 were like Gamja and Apocalypse, I think, were like lesser Koreans, so to say. And now there's like 10, I think, 9. So it's like, and also there's a lot of better foreigners going, like, you know, Snoot and Bunny, they weren't there last time. So I'm actually I'm more excited than for the last Red Bull. Like,
yeah,
I'm pleasantly surprised.
I don't know, dude. If like it pains me when I have to listen to a translator translate what a Korean is saying. Like I'm not racist or anything.
What
like,
the fuck does that have to do with anything you just said?
Because he's saying like he was
It's
disappointed.
subject.
No. He's saying he was disappointed in the lineup for Detroit or for Atlanta, and now with more Koreans at Detroit, he's actually more excited about it as a spectator. But as a spectator myself, if I have to listen to a translator, I lose focus. I'm like, man, this is so boring. Like it takes so much time.
Yeah, but it's not about
get
like
that.
listening to the Koreans, it's like watching
yeah.
the game.
I think,
get that,
some
but
of
as a
us,
StarCraft
like-
player and
Yeah.
fan, you're watching the game more
Yeah.
than the.
I know.
I know.
Some people, I mean, casuals might enjoy the interviews and stuff like desRow, but we're here
Yeah.
for the games.
No, but like if you know,
Remax.
no. Red Bull has the budget to like have freaking subtitles if they do like a piece on Koreans. If they can give me subtitles, I'll be really happy. Because I think that's one thing that the StarCraft
think-
No, it's true. I think that,
Asking for live subtitles is pushing.
no. But you know, like Red Bull, like let's say it's day 2, right? And day 3, like the brackets are out or whatever. They'll be like, okay, you don't go to your fucking hotel. Come, we're doing an interview. And so if they can put subtitles instead of having a translator, I think that'd be great. Obviously, if it's a live interview, you can't really do subtitles. Like you had, I think it was TI2 or TI3. They did subtitles, and then the translation was awful, and everyone was complaining. But yeah, just translating in general, I kind of lose the focus as a spectator. Maybe I'm too casual. So that's Red Bull Detroit, Red Bull Battleground Online. Let's talk a little bit about DC, even though it's far away. Just a player list. What do you guys think? Washington, Red Bull Washington DC. It's gonna be in September 20 and 21, 4 days after my birthday. Oh yeah. So actually, to go back to one thing you were saying, HuK, about how for Kespa Cup, the invites that are like 1 or 2 months ago, Red Bull is inviting SOS and Parting that did well last year. And they're also inviting the winner of MLG, which is Trap. So
I still don't like that to some degree.
mhm.
Like in this specific case, I think Partying and SOS are a lot more relevant than the people.
But
from...
what if they fell off though?
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
the whole
that's
point.
the-
So
this
like
is the
for
point.
this specific situation, it's like more okay because they're both very good. Trap is I think weaker than both of them, though he's still very good. So I
Mhm.
think like in this particular case, it's fine because they're all still pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just hit and miss, you know. Sometimes they're still going to be doing well, sometimes they're not. So in this case, I think the lineup's very strong. The only foreigner, Scarlet, being there, I think is really cool because obviously she's had not only is she like one of the best foreigners, and has been for a while, but she also had like that one really good game on Habitation Station last
Yeah.
Red Bull. So
Yeah.
there's some storyline hype there. So I think it's a good lineup.
What about you, uThermal? Are you satisfied with Bomber and Cure?
Yeah, I'm very satisfied. Like, Cure is one of the best Terrans at the moment, no doubt. And I'm like #1 Bomber fan. So
Yeah?
it's like, I'm really a Bomber fan. And like, Dongrigu, one of my favorite Zergs, one of everyone's favorite Zergs, I guess. Scarlet, one of the best foreigners, and then 3 sick Protoses. This is one of the best lineups I've seen for a tourney in a long time. I'm really excited.
I think one of the risky things about formats like these is you can end up with like a really imbalanced race distribution, and it can make for like a very boring tournament. Like the Red Bull Global with like only Zergs and Terran, like 2 Terran, 4 Zergs. That was pretty brutal. But no.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the last year's results, SOS and Parting, and then the MLG, which was the longest time ago result, then it would have been very racially imbalanced. But on the same hand, you can't really help that fact as Red Bull, unless you're just going to say, okay, we're inviting Protos at this point. Like, it's just
I think
the
they
way
got
it
very
kind
lucky.
of... Yeah, it's up to like who's doing well then, who qualifies. I mean, you can't like go to Blizzard and be like, okay, buff Protoss for like 2 weeks during this qualifier, or buff this race, that race. So it's, I don't know. It would be extremely unlucky. Let's say like if all Zergs or all Terrans or all Protoss qualified, but there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, that's very true. So this is a really big topic that we're gonna get on, and it's the TvP strategy talk. So HuK had a lot of strong views, but he promised to be reasonable I'm just kidding. So there's a lot of the metagame has changed. The patch has affected a lot of things. Personally, I think time warp at 100 energy for 10 seconds is a little bit of unreasonable. But we'll go and talk about the results. Obviously, we talk about all the tournaments, and most of the story has been Flash, Sorry, Cure, GSL. Terran's doing well. Terran's doing well everywhere. So maybe a shift in the balance is too strong. Obviously, it's too early to tell, but there's already some strategies and some stuff that are really good for Terran and hard for Protos. And uThermal is going to fill us in with the ZVT. So I think we'll start with the ZVT just to sort of get it out of the way, since only Feedme and uThermal kind of watch the matchup. uThermal, what's your take on ZVT right now? Are you happy? Did the patch help? Did the Tor help? Because a lot of people were skeptic about the Tor buff.
Well, myself, I didn't really have any problems playing without mines, so for me it doesn't really matter. But when there's a Terran chat on Skype, and I watch like Korean Terrans, and everyone is really happy with the Terran buff. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of jokes in Terran chat, like they call mines generals because they kill like 40 Zerglings now. It's I'm not sure about the patch actually, because like when you watch Bunny play, for example, it seems really hard to beat him. Like he plays really standard, 4cc, Tor Mine, Marine, and it seems really hard to beat him. And I'm not sure if Terran is too strong because I have a different style of playing. But yeah, it might be actually. I'm not sure.
Have you seen anything like unreasonable during matches where like the Terran like seemed like he was gonna lose, and then the Tor or the Winter Mines, it was just too much?
No, not really.
No?
Not really. It just seems like when you're behind the Zerg now, it seems like really hard to win. Like I don't know if any of you watched Yon against Bunny in Gfinity.
Yeah.
And like Yon is, like he lost his roaches, and he did roaches every game, and Bunny kept opening with Tank Banshee. And Jan was behind every game, and even though he played well, he couldn't win. So I think in this patch you have to, like, your attacks have to work, or you're screwed.
Yeah. Okay. Will, any thoughts about ZVT?
My TVZ has always been pretty good. I mean, I did beat a GM the other day, but that doesn't really have any indication, kind of. But I think it's in a good place. I think TVZ is always going to be in a good place. Like, before the patch, it was way too Zerg favored, I think, with some players especially.
Okay. So yeah, it's too early to tell. Maybe we'll talk about the win rates next month. For now, like, because Aligulak has a win rate of all the matches or all the matchups. It's too early to tell. But hopefully TVZ doesn't become unreasonable for Zergs. Because at the end of the day, you want everyone to sort of be happy. Because for a while, Terran had not a lot of GMs. A lot of Terrans were like starting to not play a lot, be inactive. Some retired. So to go on with TvP and the SCV polls and all the strategies that are going on, what's your take, HuK, on what's going on with TvP?
Oh my God, yes. My time to shine.
Yeah.
No, I think I was a lot more upset when the patch first came out in the first very early periods than I am now. Obviously, as Protos adapt, they're finding more and more ways to win. So I'm going to preface this by saying that it's getting better PvT for Protos's than what I previously thought. Obviously like Hero mixing it up, going like really quick Storm and Colossus with 0/0 upgrades, and then beating a Terran that's at 2/2 is like within itself almost a balanced wine that Terran can do. And then like a lot of we're seeing like a lot of Immortal all-ins now again, and we're seeing like a lot of different timings. The main thing that I have a problem with is that obviously the maps were nerfed when Blink was like a really strong build. And then the maps were changed so that it wasn't such a strong build, and then Blink was nerfed, and then Time Warp was nerfed, and then Widow Mines was buffed, and this all happened in like a relatively quick amount of time for the state of StarCraft 2, I guess. And I think Terran has a pretty big advantage TvP as far as what it is that both sides can offer. I feel like Protoss has been for a long time stuck in this mindset that they basically are defending until they get to 200 and then they can push out and they have a decent chance. But like all these new timings are helping a lot, but I still think Protoss sometimes are stuck under that. You're basically always going to lose a base trade against a Terran, like 90% of the time or more, on even to decent terms, like as far as you're like equal in supply and stuff. If they have units out on the map, and they can drop your main. And then like the Phoenix Colossus, obviously you're waiting until 200, and you're just basically always on the defense. And Terran has a lot of options as far as like whether they want to go CC first, or they want to go Widowmine drop, or they want to go like a 3 racks push to metavax to poking to dropping to doing like all this kind of stuff. And Protoss does have some like other ways to attack, whether it be like Oracle harassment, which is kind of like, I mean, I don't feel like Terrans are going to straight up lose to any Oracle anymore, but it is definitely a way to harass. And then like maybe a Warp Prism, but it's not really comparable to the way that a Terran can control the pace of a game, the whole game, basically. And then, you know, like you add to that like SCV pulls and all these different ways that Terran really can punish a Protoss, and Protoss is just kind of sitting on the back foot and waiting and hoping that they get to 200. So, I mean, I obviously want to hear the other side of the argument too, and then discuss it. It's more of the fact that like we had Zealot High Templar for a really long time, and then throughout all of this, it's become very unviable, obviously because of Widow Mines and just lack of options. Yeah. I guess.
Just to clarify before we get uThermal's sides of things, what HuK meant by the blink nerf is the maps. The maps make it a lot.
Well, there was a blink nerf too, where they added time.
Yeah, but that's like freaking like beta, where like the Mothership Core you could like. Yeah. That's like long time ago. No, it's true. It's true. The maps. Yeah,
but bringing that up seriously.
Yeah, but. No, I'm just saying, like, because some of the people were confused when you talked about the blink nerf, and just the current maps are a lot harder to blink on than, let's say, Yangsu.
Yeah, like when the maps got changed, I think most Protoss players were like, okay, that's understandable. Like, there was a stupid way to win, blah blah blah, and it wasn't the fact that it's like, but without that like being able to blink, like because during that period of time, Terrans were on the back foot, right? They were like unsure, okay, how do I approach this? I gotta watch out for this blink attack that may or may not come. And then, you know, there was kind of like, in the mid game, there was like this, you know, one side could be aggressive, but the other side could be aggressive, and they kind of had to play to that fact, where now it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna be safe here, basically, as Terran. Like, I can poke, I can do drops, I can expand, I can do whatever, and I'll be pretty safe. And, yeah.
So what's your side, uThermal? What do you think of the current metagame?
Well, actually I haven't experienced more success now than before. I think it's when you play against like really good Korean Protosses, you notice there's not really, you don't have all options. Like if you go like mine drops, or like I should say gas first mine drop against the Protoss, they will never take any damage. It's like you have Reaper and CC first that are like the best openings. And I think the most dangerous period for the Protoss is the SCV pool. I don't think it's like there's like an imbalance in TvP right now. It's like the SCV pool is really hard to stop, but if you manage to stop it, you're perfect. Like in late game, I still have a pretty negative win rate against Protoss. I really think the problem might just be the SCV pool, and also like for me, go ahead.
No. You finish and then.
Okay. Also, like, SCV pulls are so good because high Templars were nerfed, or not high Templars, but like, you know, the mine buff. So SCV pulls are good because people are 99% going Colossus. I think like that's the only problem. I think SCV pulls are maybe hard to stop on, like, you know, merry-go-round maps like that, which are usually featured by Protoss. But I think on like Overgrowth, where you can force field, maps like that, I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's mainly my point, is like Protoss are being forced basically to only open Colossus, and then Terrans are like, okay, I know he's gonna open Colossus, So I'm gonna make these Vikings. I'm gonna get ready, and you're basically like, for 10 minutes of the game, gearing up for this SCV pool that's gonna come in 10 minutes, and you know it's gonna happen, and you're not that worried, and you're just like, okay, so I'll just keep harassing, keep poking, and then 10 minutes I'm gonna pull the boys and throw him down his throat. And like, obviously, like if I play fucking Innovation, which I did play, and get like raffle stomp, that's one thing. Like I can easily say like, he's a Korean, obviously he's a lot better. Just the same way if you play like Korean Protosses, they're just gonna be on another level. So like it's hard to compare against a better opponent where the imbalances are, and it's easier to compare to people that you usually beat on ladder or you usually lose to, and then all of a sudden you're doing a lot better or a lot worse because of like changes in the game. It's like more of that, and then more of like, I feel like as soon as Protoss started doing well, it's a lot easier to whine against Protoss just because of the way they won, and I will commented and I agreed with that. So like when the blink all in happens and you lose to that, it's a lot easier to look at that game and be like, okay, that's fucking stupid. But at the same time, I feel like if 3 Protosses, like the first 3 Protosses qualified for Red Bull, there would be like a lot of public outcry, like that's kind of bullshit, blah blah blah. Because as soon as Protoss did well, there wasn't like this period of time when you think about it on a larger scale, and like the players I'm going to mention here are obviously pretty good, some of them not. But you look at Flash, he's been doing really well, and that's definitely contributed to him being a great player and putting in the time and work, but also he's doing better to some degree because of the patch. And then you look at someone like Cure, who's doing a lot better now, just qualified, or the Terrans and GSL, and they're all doing better, and a lot of them are really great players and they deserve to do well. So that's a gimme. But then you look at like Yoda, who's all of a sudden, 2 months ago he's losing to like mid-tier foreigners at DreamHack and stuff, and now he qualifies for Red Bull. And then you look at Keen, who's been inconsistent for like the last year and a half, 2 years, and then all of a sudden he qualifies for Red Bull. Like, 1 or 2 of these things, it's like, yeah, okay. But like all of a sudden a lot of Terrans doing really well. Some of it to skill. But he did qualify through a really hard Red Bull qualifier tournament. That tournament within itself is like almost as hard as like a DreamHack or an IEM.
Okay. Well, I think like there's like a select group of Terrans that are really impacted by the patch. Like for example, Flash. He used to have like he tried to prepare for everything, right? He was never safe. He lost against Protos.
Yeah, but this is back to the point of meta. Like now he knows, okay, they're gonna go this 1 or 2 strategies. I don't have to prepare versus everything. I don't have to worry about Zealot High Templar, or maybe it's Colossus, or maybe it's Phoenix Colossus, or maybe it's this, that, blink all in. So it's like, it's not the fact that like Terran got this like easy gift and game's easy now. It's more that like the changes impacted the meta and pros, like you said, 90% of the time, opening Colossus, defending, and then there's an SCV pool and there's not an SCV pool, but like those are 90% of the games, So Protoss doesn't have like an option, okay, maybe I'm gonna mix it up and go Zealot High Templar this time. Maybe I'm gonna, do this or that. And now we're seeing like, slowly but surely, we're seeing answers to that with like crazy Immortal all-ins, or like Heroes 0 upgrade, fast mass High Templar with the Colossus, but
no, my point is like,
that.
You can't really generalize because of like Flash and Yoda, because like Yoda was good at the beginning of Heart of the Swarm, and he's good now. So I think Yoda is just someone who's like really good at adapting. And then you have like players like Flash, and also like, you haven't seen it yet, but Bomber, for example. I think these are 2 players who just like fit with the patch because they fix their problems. I don't think every Terran is like that, or far from.
But it was fixed partly because of the patch. Because now 90% of Protoss is open Colossus only.
Yeah, but that's talking
so
about
I'm not... Huh?
That's talking about the mine patch a long while ago.
No, well, no, the mine patch is the most recent one, right?
No, but like, if you're talking about Protoss playing Colossus instead of Templar, then it's the patch that's a long while ago.
Yeah, but if we go back then, uThermal, do you like the fact that you don't have to deal with Templar opening? Like, is it nice to know that you're not gonna get storm direct, that you can drop a little bit easier,
Well, actually, it's funny because I lost to a Dutch Protos guy in a LAN because he was playing Templar, and then because I met him in the next LAN, I wanted to have a solution. So then I started making mines, and that was even before the mine buff, right? And it was already an answer for me. Like I added this build with a lot of aggression, a lot of drops, and it was already my answer to like.
But
Storm.
if
And wait, and the new mines as well. I don't see like they should just go back to the old ones with TvP. If it's like that much of a problem, like.
Well, like there's small differences. Obviously, they kill more probes or stuff sometimes, but like on top of that, like
they one-shot sentries.
And well, yeah,
with
but
the
they also they one-shot splash observers too. So if you have like an observer, you send it to a mineral field, it hits a probe, it'll kill the observer at the same time. I mean, but like most times that's not the overall big problem, because like that's going to be very situational specific games. It's just overall that now Protoss players, like yes, Protoss players have been opening strictly Colossus for a little bit, but definitely before this most recent change with the time warp and the blink, and the map blink changes, it's become even more narrowed, you know, because before the new maps, before the Widowmine buff and before the time warp nerf, blinks were more popular.
Yeah.
Blink all-ins. And now that aggression has been neglected, and it's like only Colossus. No Zealot High Templar, no blink all-ins.
You think Blizzard should give Protoss 3 maps per map pool for Blink?
That's such a like horrible way at looking at the game to say like, okay, these guys are going to have to play from a map pool of 7 maps, so Terran's going to automatically veto these 2 maps, and they're never going to be played. And Protoss is automatically going to veto these 2 maps. Yeah. And it's always going to end up on 1 map with Blink, and then 2 regular maps. And it's like, okay, Protoss has free win on this 1 map,
but
and then Terran has
Blink,
advantage on these 2 maps.
But Blink is not that much of a free win, it's just a different opener. Like, you know he's going to open Blink.
But it's more to the fact, like, if a Protoss player wins with Blink, it's just going to be really shitty for the game. Like, no one's going to look at the game and give the player credit for winning that game. And then if he wins the series, it's going to be the same thing. Or if a player has success, you know? It's like...
Yeah. I don't know. If you look... Okay, so if you look at Youngsu and Frost, that was, like, full retard, Blink, like unreasonable way to play versus Blink. And then if we go like middle ground between like no blink and blink, you can take like merry-go-round, where like you can blink up, they're like the natural is wide, so you can get some shit done. Like you'll see a lot of Protoss open blink on merry-go-round.
There's not really like I can't think of a high-level PvT game where I've seen a Protoss blink all in a while.
Yeah, but
successfully.
Yeah. But
I watched MC.
I think.
Go ahead, Will.
MC went like Stargate into like Oracle and then Void Rays. He did this against Dorzane ages ago, but he did it again recently in Redbull. I was observing the game. It was so
versus who?
It was Supernova.
And he won?
Yeah. On merry-go-round.
Well, I'll have to see that. MC is definitely one of the crazier guys that'll do that.
It was so disgusting.
I think you can... Blink-on is very strong now on Deathwing, but it's the only map in my opinion.
Break the rocks. I know it was popular when Deadwing first came out, but I thought it, like, I never see that happen in like high Korean pro games anymore.
I saw it recently. I think it was First who did it, but I'm not sure against who. I think
but like
Katarina
even First,
would be
I consider First like level with Yoda, you know? They're both Korean Europeans that have decent results. That's not like Zest versus Maru or some shit.
Yeah, alright. Okay, sure. Well, the maps now are just not that good for it. Like you only have Deathwing. Like you could, like some people say you can do it on Catalina, but then you have to like walk through the minerals and blink.
And it's very awkward, and you can get stalkers. So like
and even merry-go-round.
Yeah, it's awkward. The minerals are there at the third too. Yeah, I agree. Like once again, I don't think there's like this huge imbalance where Terran's getting free wins. I just think the way that the meta works, where Protoss is basically forced into one tech path always. And then Terran has many options and different, you know, like it's obviously not like mech or whatever. It's mostly always bio. But you even have like the Raven tank opening, the Widowmine opening, the 3 racks opening before Medivacs, the 5 racks, the fast 3cc, like you have all these different options that give your play like different degrees, and Protoss pretty much like 90% of the time it's just Colossus. Like we're just getting Colossus, we're trying to take a third base on decent upgrades, and then we're waiting for the SCVs to be pulled, and hopefully we can defend.
So uThermal, what's your take on the time warp? Like 30 seconds to 10 seconds. Do you still feel like, do you still hate time warp? Do you feel it's reasonable now?
Well, actually, I've always like ignored time warps. Like still now, if you SCV pull,
Yeah.
for example, and you get time warp from the ramp, it's not really that big of a difference. Because the zealots charge in, you're shooting the zealots, and your Vikings will shoot the Colossus. It's just like, if you time warp and force field or time warp and storm, then it's good. But it doesn't really, like, I haven't really noticed a big difference. Only if you're like afraid of time warps and you want to wait for it to go, then it's, if that's your style, then.
What
then
about
it's
during all ends? You know, when they're like going down your throat.
I'm not sure. I haven't been all in that much lately, actually.
Okay.
I think maybe Protoss are afraid of doing it now because of the timer. But like, for example, if you blink all in, I think your army will still die if they get like a timer up. There's no bunker or a timer of your SCVs. But if they would do like an Oracle 4 gate, you know, a proxy immortal, then the timer is a lot worse because it's about like, you know, zoning, but then like it's only 10 seconds. So I think it only matters with certain all-ins and sometimes with SCV pulls. But for blink all-in, it doesn't really change anything in my opinion.
I'm a big believer that time warp should be 75 energy instead of 100. You know, 30 seconds to 10 is pretty big because it feels like it's still very good versus Zerg in some situations when you're doing like 4-gate saw pressure, stuff like that. But you know, if you want to put down 2 time warps, that's all of your energy. It takes a while. What's your take on that, HuK? Like the time warp energy, the time warp nerf?
I mean, I don't know. It's really hard. It's really, really hard for me to say. I think as long as it's being used to some degree, I obviously it was a nerf, and I don't think it was like a huge issue. I don't think anybody was looking at time warp and saying like, "Wow, this fucking it's so OP." But I don't know. When I can use it still and like feel like it was something that was very useful in a game or could be useful, then I can't really complain. It's the point of like, Protoss players still use it, and they don't look at the spell and they use it less, but I don't know. I think it's okay right now. Obviously, if it went back to 30 seconds or even like a more even balance, like they dropped it to 20 seconds instead of just fucking destroying it, I would be more happy. But
at this point, I don't think they can bring back they can increase the time, but they can definitely decrease the cost.
Well, the thing is, right, like right now they just keep making so many changes like quickly as well. They come fast and they don't let anything settle. So that's what I kind of feel like right now, that you only just now start seeing Terrans beating Protoss with like these SCV pulls and etc.
That's an issue too that I hate, is that I feel like they listen to the community too much to some extent. Because when there was that, like the blink period, there was like huge public outcry, and Protoss players definitely like said, okay, maps changed, that's understandable and shit. But the community, especially like Reddit in general, whenever something happens, it's very easy just to like Protoss OP or that's bullshit, or you know,
when you watch Protoss win games, it's usually like you watch it and they win by like a landslide because it's just like AoE and shit.
Yeah.
It's really easy to shit on a Protoss because you don't know what's happening. And with Terran, it's more visual, so you can see the splits, you can see people sniping and shit. You can't really, with a Storm, you just see someone clicking and killing everything.
Yeah, and then like I definitely feel like the community can impact the game, which is a sad part. Like to some degree, that's okay, but I definitely feel like if, you know, like there's a huge period of time when like if a Protoss won a series in a certain way, you'd see like the top 5 posts on Reddit would be like power of Protoss, power of whatever, and then it's really annoying as a pro gamer that's like trying to do this to look at that and be like, well, fuck, like this is gonna be great. In a month, I can expect this or that from balance or changes or whatever. And I feel like they have to, like, even now, since like 3 days ago, just from watching Red Bull and stuff, I can see like Protosses are mixing up. They're doing like timing Colossus pushes and really quick, faster Storm instead of the 2 Forge upgrades or
And with
Phoenix
that as well,
Colossus.
Hero's been doing this Forger style, so we could like transition into that kind of talk. I don't know. If
Yeah.
that's, like...
Yeah. One thing before we yeah, let's transition into that. So Hero has been doing a lot of Protosses have been trying to do Colossus all in, sort of faking it out into Storm with charge. So you have your 3 Colossus, and sometimes they even open with an Immortal or 2, and then they just transition into Storms because the double Starport Viking is really hard to beat. If the Terran doesn't lose any drops early on and just has an even amount of supply, once he pulls the SCVs, it's really hard to win. So Storm has to come back, and you see Hero and a few Protoss starting to do that. What do you think are the alternatives to Colossus? Well, obviously this build, but what else, HuK?
Mainly just any aggression, like I can't remember who was on merry-go-round. I think it was Hero or like
Zest?
Stork or something. Maybe Zest, who went like an Immortal all-in.
Into Storm?
No, just like a Immortal all-in.
Okay.
So he just went like Sentry, like it's on the Protoss basically. I feel like right now in PvT to kind of mix it up and to win games, to do something like that, to catch the Terran off guard. I feel like it's really hard to win games versus equal to better Terran players when you play straight up macro. I'm gonna go Colossus. I'm gonna get double Forge. I'm gonna upgrade.
There's also...
So over time, those things will present themselves, and I think we're gonna go back to. I think like double Forge is gonna be like impossible to do, really hard to do. Yeah. So it's gonna be back to like maybe single Forge, no Forge, really quick Storm, because obviously the biggest issue here is being forced into only Colossus and then losing to like SCV pulls and stuff. And the easiest way to defend that is getting Storm out as well as having Colossus. So quicker Storm, maybe 1 Forge, or like just some kind of early game aggression like Immortal pushes or Colossus timings, which are all have been successful over the last weeks. So it's definitely something that can be done.
Yeah. There's also a build from Zest I saw versus Flash. There's Blink into Forge Robo, so like delayed Forge, delayed Robo, Armor Immortals into Storm, and it was sort of a contain, so it's like a 3-layer like type of things, like Blink, then you have the Immortals with a few sentries, and then you have the Storm to finish it off. And
that game, I know it game.
It was funky, but
it was like more a one-time thing against Flash, because it was like Flash pushed out into him and then got force fielded off and then lost his whole army and he lost the game, and because he misscanned and only saw like half the army. Yeah,
I don't know.
It wasn't like a macro game.
Oh, I know,
style.
But I think like as a 2-base style, it can be decent. I feel like the 2-base builds have gone down a lot across the board for Protoss. Like unless you're watching MC and Stardust, like the Kespa Protosses are not doing a lot of 2-base builds. Am I wrong? HuK?
I don't think these are good. Yeah. Like if you do 2-base Colossus all in, you have to like get in there immediately. Like if people do it against me in practice and they wait or like try to snipe some barracks in the main, my army will be way too big. I don't think 2-base all ins are that good as Protoss.
Okay. Final talk about the meta. If you had to, obviously, like we have to wait to see if it's imbalanced or not. But if you had to change one thing for the matchup, HuK, what would you put in? Or like remove, like nerf Widow Mines or one thing.
I would revert the Widow Mine change, at least against Protoss. Yeah. Or nerf it. I don't know how they would do it. Maybe to shields or something. Just so that Zealot High Templar is at least a little bit more viable. Because I felt like during that period of the game, it was actually really interesting. I would much rather see a lot of small skirmishes of Zealot High Templar versus bio drops and that kind of play than seeing like, okay, mass Colossus sit there and then SCV's pulled and there's one big battle 20 minutes into the game, then a bunch of small skirmishes. That would be the biggest thing, I would say. I would change.
What about you, uThermal?
Like I'm not sure. I think it might have just been the wrong approach because a lot of things were changed at the same time, like in favor of Terran. Like the time warp nerf, the mine buff, and also the maps became better for Terran. I think I don't think there's like a specific imbalance right now, but they shouldn't have done it all at the same time, right? Like people have to get used to a patch. Like you can't just nerf like every unit of a race, for example, even if it should have been nerfed. So I think it's too late now to really, like you can't just keep making changes and reverting them. I think they just handle too fast.
Okay. What about you, Will? Any changes?
My opinion on Protos, it should just be totally scrapped. Get rid of it. That's
What?
all I can really say.
Well,
it should just
real.
This is
Yeah,
the
but
realistic
people-
one. Okay, mind change.
Yeah.
But like,
Because like obviously
everyone knows Protos
yeah.
needs to be redone. Because like Chris was saying earlier, they have to just get maxed, etc., and do all that.
I don't know. For me, like the time warp energy, I know I sound like a broken record, but it'd be nice. It would give more options. And then yeah, the Widow Mine's a big thing. We just need more variety, just because it's either you're aggressive and you're doing some like gimmicky stuff, into like a macro transition, or you're going Colossus.
with the uThermal, when Zealot High Templar was a popular style, what was your opinion on it? Was it like something that you struggled against a lot, or was it something you felt it was okay to play? Like even just like as a spectator, did you find the play style fine? Because I really enjoyed the play style, and I felt like the better player won most of the time. Not Blink All-Ins or anything like that, but Zealot High Templar versus like Bio Ghost, etc. Because I felt like a lot of small skirmishes was a fun way to play.
I had a really low win rate for like a long time, but like right before the mine buff, actually I started having a better win rate. I got better strategies. So I think it would have been okay, but it's like, you know, stealth like that are always better for Korean Terrans, right? Because they are better at multitasking. Like Mario, for example, he was like, people couldn't copy him, but he made it happen. Like,
yeah, because I think fast, right?
Yeah, I think a small buff could have fixed it if people found solutions.
Yeah, like the biggest thing I have with the mine now is that, like, it's not the fact that it kills High Templar, it's the fact that the Zealots are just like, if you're going Zealot High Templar and you have like, even if you have a robo with observers, realistically you're never gonna be able to engage Bio with Widow Mine spread and win that engagement. So I thought that style was really cool, and I'm sad that it basically got ripped on.
Hey, what about making the Widow Mine bigger and nerfing the HP so it dies under a storm? You know, like the size of the Widow Mine, making it bigger so like the storm
I don't even
can
think
catch
you need
more.
to I don't even think you got to make the Widow Mine bigger, but I think if a Widow Mine died to one storm, it would
that'd be
make
like
it
an
more
improvement.
viable. Yeah, because at this point when it's 2 storms and you're like, because I've stormed Widow Mines before, and I think it's like an acceptable amount. But when you got like there's 2 Widow Mines close together and you got to spend like 2 storms killing basically like the equivalent of 3 or 4 Marines, it's not worth.
Yeah, because
you're muted. Feedme, by the way.
Yeah, making them bigger would ruin TVZ as well. So.
Oh yeah, okay. And because one thing though is like 2 Widow Mines will shred like 6 Zealots, so it's like a really huge investment to spend 2 storms. So yeah, nerfing that maybe. Also maybe well, that would break TVZ, but having to target with the Widow Mines, not letting them auto fire would be good, but then it could be broken. It would break TVZ. Okay, I'm retarded. All right. That's our strategy talk, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've been struggling TvP as a Protos, watch Zest. If you've been struggling as a Terran, watch Flash. There's also Hero that's good for Protos. Our next topic will be WCS Point system, Blizzcon. Is it even relevant anymore? And that'll be our last big topic. After that, there'll be the questions. Maybe a little bit of WCS EU if we have time, and then shoutouts. BlizzCon. Alright, so let's get to it. So one of the big problems with WCS Points is it undermines every tournament. You know, like you have someone winning a big tournament, and then The final story sometimes is not, he won the tournament. It's like, he gets more points. Maybe he's going to make it to BlizzCon. And then you have people like Yon and MC at the top of the standings. And some people made the math like, they'd still be at the top because they won their region. So if it wasn't for, DreamHack, IEM, all those events, it wouldn't really matter. But I feel like GSL is so stacked, and Pro League not giving points really skews up things. You have Yon, MC, Stardust, and the top three, and if you compare them to Kespa, it's a lot different. Who else can you question in the top 16? Maybe Pig Baby, maybe Polt, although people are not going to like what I just said. And then you have Snoot at rank 17, so we'll start with HuK. What's your take on... obviously, like, it benefits you more if you like have a shot at WCS BlizzCon because you travel to a lot of events, but what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think the biggest gripe that people have is just that BlizzCon is supposed to be the best representation of the best players in the world competing against each other, and obviously the best players, a lot of really good players won't be there, and mainly talking about like Kespa players, obviously. The fix for that situation is a lot harder. The most logical thing would be to add points to Pro League, but then you run into the problem of how many points are you going to add, how is it going to be distributed, and then let's say Kespa players travel to more events next year or something like this. It's definitely not a really easy fix. I think it's going to be necessary to some degree, especially next year, if what the rumors are is that basically WCS is going to be region locked to where you live, then it's going to be even more Koreans stuck in Korea, not being able to get WCS points, including a lot of the Koreans that have decent points now. It's just a really hard fix because Kespa players are getting their salary based on how they do in Pro League more than anything else. So a lot of them won't travel to events so they can focus on Pro League. And then a lot of them don't even have it in their contract where they're allowed to, or basically they have to take money out of their contract to pay for their trip. So a lot of them don't want to go to foreign tournaments. It's just a really difficult situation because you have people that go to tournaments based on popularity and other things. Obviously, me being one of them, me compared to Zess deserves to go to every tournament. I don't, but it's a really tricky situation. I think the most logical fix is you add WCS points to Pro League, but you got to be very careful how you do that and how much is put there.
Yeah. And one thing to note too, when you talk about Kespa players not allowed to go or it's not in their contract, Pro League lasts for so long. It's from December to July, and so there's not a lot of wiggle room for them. They have August, they have September, they have October. That's 3 months. Most of the tournaments are already done. DreamHack, they only have 2 stops left, and then the winter final, which is not really open. IEM, I think they have 1 or 2 more, and so that doesn't give a lot of opportunity for Kespa players to go to events after Pro League is over. So it's a tricky situation. Well, what's your take on all
I think
of it?
Blizzard needs to decide what they want WCS to be. Because do they want it now with people just tournament hunting and going around getting invited? Like Hyun and MC get invited to everything and just farm points like this? Or do they want it region locked like next season? Like proper region lock like they had it the season before? Because right now WCS doesn't seem very... I don't know, it doesn't seem to have a place almost, in my opinion. Because
yeah, before it was like, okay, let's take the best people from every nation and throw them up against each other, even if white people are going to get wrecked. It was still semi-entertaining. But now it's like, not that, but not the best players either. And it's just kind of like, okay, so we're not going to have the best games in the world, but we're not going to have the cool thing where people play, like we see foreigners play top Koreans.
And also, I think some of the fans turned on a dime. People were drinking the MC Kool-Aid, the Yon Kool-Aid at the beginning of the year, but now they're starting to realize, like, I watch a lot of Kespa, I watch a lot of Pro League, and where are my favorite players? Now there's MC and Yon at the top And there's one thing I guess that works for Kespa players is that by having Neon, MC, and Stardust at the top, it'll be a little bit easier for them if they make the cutoff in their first round at Blizzcon, because it's 1 versus 16 and 2 versus 15. So they'll have an easier first round match at Blizzcon. But uThermal, you know, there's not a lot of, you know, there's no Maru, there's no Innovation, there's no Byung so far in the top 16. So, and there's no Flash. Actually, I'm higher than Flash in WCS points by 1 rank. But yeah, so what's your take, uThermal?
Well, I think, as HuK said, the most important thing is Pro League, because WCS Korea is not actually the problem. Like, there's, I believe, 2 players that play Korea that also advance, or would advance. I think it's Live and SOS, maybe. And the commitment to Pro League is what stops the Koreans from going, right? Like, there's only one, I think it's Hero, and he's only there because he qualified for like 3 IEMs and won like 2 of them and got second in the other. But even if you add points to Pro League, let's say you give them like 20 points per map win, like even the player who was first in Pro League, I think it was 31 wins, would have like 620 points. It's not like overboard if you give them that. But if you add like 600 points to Maru or whatever, we would have like more Kespa players, you know, in the top 16. I think if like the 2000 points going to WCS EU NA, it's not really unfair. Like, if you don't do that, it would be only WCS Koreans, right?
Yeah.
So I think Yon MC being there is not that bad, but yeah, I think it's just all about Pro League.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to do it, and do it based on map wins, because that is a very easy way to measure it. And then on top of that, they need some incentive for Koreans to stay in Korea, especially if they're going to region lock WCS next year, as far as like, because there's a lot of Koreans like MC and Hyun that can move to Europe and they have that support, but you're basically locking a lot of Koreans in, like Pig Baby. You know, do you think Pig Baby, who won WCS America last season, would have ever moved to America to live there and play before last season? I don't think it would have happened. And I think if you're going to force Koreans to be in Korea even more with the WCS changes that I think are going to happen next year, incentivizing Pro League or opening some kind of other side tournament, or even just giving GSL more points to some. But the problem with the way you stack GSL or any WCS region is, as soon as someone wins one, it's like they're almost top 16 automatically for the year. And that's not a great way to measure a tournament either.
So you think they would need to give more points to like round of 32? Like if you make Kodes...
No, I think Pro League would be the easiest way. Yeah.
But I do think you need to give slightly less to the first place finisher, because Big Baby has literally done nothing, like in WCS all year, like literally nothing, and he wins once and he's in the top 16. Like, even if you would give them 1500, it wouldn't be so impactful, and still give the 2k to Korea, because the only Pro League WCS Koreans, as I said, are the ones who were in the finals. Like, Su reached finals twice in a row, and besides that, there's only the winners. So I think that the 2k you get for winning is the most impactful.
But one thing that I like about WCS EU compared to WCS NA is that you can see all the EU players benefiting from laddering with Hyun, MC, Stardust, Jackshi. And one thing that I actually like a lot is that you can see players like MC, Hyun, Yoda, First getting worse. And, you know, because they think like, I'm coming in for easy money. And then at the end of the day, they have to sacrifice, they have to put something on the line. While for WCS NA, you know, you have Polt and Violet and then even laddering on NA, and then the rest of the guys, you know, they'll win trade for their 200 wins, or they'll cheese for their 200 wins. And hopefully next year the region lock can happen, not just for myself, just for, you know, helping the scene, just giving Danny Ladder some life back, because Destiny 1 didn't really cut it. And hopefully with that and changing the way the WCS points are, it can help make BlizzCon more relevant. Because I feel like last year was really, BlizzCon was really like meant, I think the season finals helped a lot with that, because last year was more relevant than this year.
That's definitely a way that it was balanced for WCS, because you basically saw Koreans do really well when they came over. So that was another way for them to earn more points, and it was fun.
Any final thoughts, Will?
With the invites, like the players getting invited, MC, Hyun, people are like only now just starting to am I muted?
No,
like
no,
realize
no.
how boring it is to watch Hyun and MC play and everything. So
Yeah.
I think maybe tournaments might catch on to that. I don't know.
I just don't like the way that they do the invites in general. They like say, okay, it's not. They're like, it's not based on who has the highest WCS points, but then it kind of is, and then we're
it's like
kind
it's based on
of
results. So the results are WCS and other WCS points events. So the basically the rich get richer with WCS points.
yeah.
So it's kind of boring. Well, it's boring.
Because if you look at that invites even for Toronto, and you like the open bracket compared to the like if you take some of those invites and you throw them in the open bracket and you put them against Maru first round,
Yeah, Maru.
like you're gonna pick Maru over the invites. So it's kind of silly the way that they're scaling that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, uThermal? Do you like the way WCS EU is now? What change do you want?
I don't really need a region lock in WCSU. Well, I don't think it would actually matter, right? Because you have like the GEM house, where it's like 3 Koreans in WCSU, and the MYI house for 2 Koreans. So I don't think region lock will actually change anything. Maybe if you change the qualifiers, because you notice every season there's 1 or 2 more Koreans. Like now Sax3 got knocked out by Bunny, but like every season there will be 1 or 2 more, and eventually it could be like half of Premier, and that's what you want to avoid.
Welcome to WCSNA. desRow, by the way, I like how you complained about Violet and Pulp, but you didn't talk about like Taeja, Hero, all these Koreans that also don't play on NA ever.
Yeah. That, I mean, that's very true. But they're living here and they're already not playing. Like that's my problem, you know. Like Hero and Taeja are not living here. No. Okay. I like the thing is like even if it's region locked, if they don't end up playing on NA, we still have the same problem, you know. So I feel like Blizzard has to step in and require like a decent amount of games, you know. If it's your full-time job, you should have at least maybe 400 wins per season on NA. And then it kind of crushes your barcode. Like, you can't really practice on a barcode. You have to stick to one account. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm sure Blizzard will, you know, it's like 3rd time is the charm. Or like 4th time. You know, like those sayings you say after you mess up the 1st time, the 2nd time, the 3rd time. This is like the 4th WCS. So maybe they'll get it right this time. So that concludes the WCS talks. We're at the end. We have no more topics except your questions. If you want to have your question answered, hashtag SC2Remax on Twitter.
Just quick there because WCS
yes?
has.
Yeah.
Just real quick, yeah.
Oh yeah. It went fast by. Okay. All right. The questions.
Not for me.
Not what? What do you mean not for you?
Didn't go by fast.
Oh, it was very slow, painful.
When you talked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay, that's. Do you think it's at Lawrence or Chris? Do you think that we will have another foreigner that will be able to compete in Codes now that Kespa transitioned? Like, do you think it's ever gonna happen?
That could compete in Codes and be like in Codes level. I think, yeah, for sure. But that actually will go to Korea and do that? No.
What if it wasn't like, yeah, I don't know. What if they change the format where the top 16 doesn't stay in Premier or whatever? So like it resets every season. So like you can try once and not lose anything. Because obviously if you change regions, you lose so much.
I don't think any foreigner would be willing to go and try to do that.
What if like by the 3rd season you know you're not gonna make the Blizzcon cutoff and you just want to like.
Yeah, and some teams just like, oh, we'll pay for your $3,000 flight there and back, and we'll pay for your stay there, and blah blah. It just, I don't think it'll happen. I think it's possible that a foreigner would be on the level of possibly getting into Code S skill-wise, but as far as it actually happening, I don't think it would happen.
Okay. Okay, I have one for uThermal. What do you think is the best strategy versus Phoenix Colossus? Tors, 3 Starport Viking, something else?
Well, I actually haven't tried the Thor's yet. It looked strong from what I've seen, but I'm not sure myself. Personally, I think you can just finish every game with 3 Starport Vikings. I think the key is to not make Vikings early on, because like you don't want 4 medevacs and 4 Vikings, because the Vikings aren't gonna do shit, right? You just want to make like 8 medevacs, make sure your bio doesn't die to like 9 Colossus or whatever like the standard amount is now. And then after you make your third, land your third, you make 3 starports and a mass of a Vikings in SCV pool, or just play a late game, because Phoenix Colossus is so much easier to deal with in the late game than like a standard Storm Colossus play. Like late game is easier than usual, and also SCV pools are really strong. Just make sure you make a lot of Vikings after you land your third, and you can always win.
Okay. HuK, for you. What do you think of Atch blocking toss in ZVP? I can't see much of a reason not to do it. What do you think of Atch block? Like Atch block in ZVP when they steal your Atchery or your natural?
It's a risk.
It's a risk.
Yeah, so basically the top level you're gonna be drone scouting, and then you're gonna hope that they're going Nexus first, and then if they are, then you basically throw down a hatch. So it's gonna be equal to anybody that opens Forge. So if you scout them and they block and they went Forge, then basically you know you can pull first, and they went the Forge first, so it's equal footing. And then if they go Nexus first, that means you can hatch block and then they pull probes. But if they go gate first, basically you're going to be a little bit behind, because you sent a drone to scout and they went gate first and they don't plan on taking their natural for a little bit anyways. So it's like a little bit ahead against one, equal with one, and a little bit behind against one. So, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really change that much in my opinion, though. It's not something that I would always do as a Zerg.
Okay. We have another question here. What is your expectations for placement in Red Bull Detroit? Loranger, Chris, and desRow. Go first, HuK. Because you did what? You did top 4 at the last Red Bull, right?
Yeah. So my goal is better than desRow.
Okay, I did top 32 last time. I just want to beat a Korean. Pull an upset. I don't care if I don't even finish top 2 in the first group stage. If I can beat a Korean and impress some people, that's all I'm looking forward to. I don't care so much about the money. Alright, let's see. We have a few more questions. It's gonna be the last one, guys. Alright, this is a funky one. Will, I know your bladder's about to explode. Keep it in. How do you each feel about the units that are not really used anymore? Example, the battle cruiser. Thought on fixes. Will, your thoughts on BCs?
BCs?
Yeah.
You mix in BCs against TVZ mech, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
People make BCs. That's not a question.
But uThermal, what are your thoughts on BCs?
I don't think it's a good idea to make BCs a normal unit, because like the MVP game in the finals was long ago. That was great. But imagine every game is like that. It's like literally brutal infestor. Like it's an ultimate A move unit supported by a spellcaster unit. I don't think you really want it in the meta game. It's just gonna be boring.
Okay. It's already live, but we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll do the shoutouts and go on our merry way. WCS EU is starting today, round of 32. The first group is Stardust, Snood, Patience, and Mini Razor. One of the, I wouldn't say most stacked.
Mini who?
Mini Razor.
Mini Razor.
I know it's okay. Okay, WCS EU. Okay, so anyway, it's one of the, I wouldn't say most stacks, but one of the hardest group to call. Stardust, New Patience, really strong. Mini Razor always able to do well. Mini Razor. I'm sorry, man. I don't know why I call him Razor. It's like it's not a Z. It's not a Z. All right. So, what do you guys think of this group? Quickly, HuK.
The Snoot Patience through. I think Mini Razor, or Mini Razor, however you say it, will surprise people and do really well. But if I had to pick 2 people to actually make it through, I'd say Snoot and Patience.
I'm gonna go for Mini Raza and Snoot.
Okay. What about you, uThermal?
I'd say Stardust first. Snoot second, with chances of Mini Razor bringing an upset.
Well, poor Patience.
To anyone in the group, really.
Patience not even mentioned. Good thing I'm here. Alright, guys, so we'll start with the shoutouts. Thank you, uThermal and HuK, for coming on. uThermal, where can we find you? Tell us what's coming up for you and so on.
You can follow me on Twitter at uThermal. I also stream now and then. Actually, not that much right now because of WCS, which you can tune into my stream at twitch.tv/srcavalon. I'll type it in the chat soon.
Okay.
Actually, DreamHack Moscow was cancelled to me, so my next event will be DreamHack Stockholm and WCS EU in exactly 1 week. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What's coming up?
I don't want to do shoutouts.
Why?
People, I don't know, nothing much to say, man.
Just like, if people really like your feisty comments about life, where can they read more about you?
I think it's below my face on stream right now.
Okay.
So.
And are you gonna stream this week before Detroit?
No.
No. Okay, so no streams from HuK. You
Go to hell.
Okay. All right. Well, the man with the bladder. What's going on?
You can follow me, Feedme SE2, and on Twitch. Same thing.
And actually,
shout out to Soyback, Venice, chat, and uThermal and Chris for coming on.
And me and Will are probably gonna cast DreamHack Moscow, some of the games. So you can look forward to that. So yeah, guys, I stream every day on Twitch. I hope you enjoyed episode 2 of Remax. HuK and uThermal were great guests. We had a lot of fun. Sorry, I know there's a lot of questions we had to skip. The strategy talk was maybe a little bit longer than we were planning for. This is the 2nd episode. The 3rd episode will be next Monday. We'll try to have the guests and the time locked down a little bit better this time than last time, because the show's supposed to be on a Monday, but yesterday with Red Bull and the Base Trade TV qualifier, we had a little bit of troubles. So guys, thank you again for supporting the show. Thank you for watching. If you have any comment, criticism, feedback, you can use the hashtag SC2Remax, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good day, guys. You can go pee, Will.